big hot topic that I think is kind of, you're hearing whispered among is legislation. We all know that the Senate committee just passed 1486. And now it's awaiting, time on the Senate floor and things like that. So I'm going to ask Leo to kind of give an update on where we are both in the House and the Senate, and then we can go through and kind of talk about some of the provisions in the bill that all cause us to go,
So in each House of Congress, we have a bill that was passed by the respective sponsors, I guess, out of the respective sponsors' committees. However, if you look at them, they are two very different. They're not fraternal twins. What's the fraternal and the other kind? Identical. They're not identical twins.
There is an upside, right? Didn't they both say it's okay to deal with the healthcare issues and the retirement issues?
Well, they both have things that, from the industry's perspective, have good components. I think from the Postal Service's perspective, they both have good components. But do we all of us like all the bills, all the things in the bills? No. If you're from this perspective, as you mentioned a moment ago, of being in favor of cost reductions, you want to see things that the Postal Service has said is important to reduce cost move through. Such things as the overpayments to FERS, the cost of health care, pre-funding, the idea of having the Postal Service have its own health care and retirement processes as part of the federal benefit program, consolidations of operating facilities, and Saturday delivery. All these different things are up there, all of which have benefits, but however, each of those get picked off by somebody and say, I don't like it. And at this point, I think all you have left that anybody would agree, that everybody would agree to, would be the title and amen. That's about it. Everything else in the middle will be somebody's disagreement.
So for those that don't know, Senator Baldwin moved through the Senate markup to have Section 301 stricken from the bill.
Section 301?
So Section 301 pretty much does the prices and governance of the Postal Service. So it had three major things in there. The first is exigency. Right now, exigency was approved by the Postal Regulatory Commission for a 2-year time frame. That 2-year time frame is negated in the Senate bill, and it becomes the base. The second thing is that provisions within the bill say they take certain responsibilities from the Postal Regulatory Commission on rate setting and give it to the Board of Governors. So then the third part in there is it changes how CPI at the level. So right now through PAEA, there's CPI at the class level. So there's 5 market dominant classes. At this provision, it allows it to move up to the market dominant level. So you would round everything to CPI. So if CPI is 2.6, instead of being 2.6 at the 5 levels, it's 2.6 overall. So the Postal Service is taking a step level and said, well, we can't really live within the bounds of CPI at the class level. We want it at the market dominant level. And then on top of that, we are allowed to have CPI plus 2 at any of the class levels. So let's take standard mail, for example. Right now, let's just pretend it's 2.6. They have a plus 2. That means everything within standard mail could round to 4.6. Well, we all know at rounding, some goes a little higher, some goes a little lower.
Averaging, you mean?
Yes, averaging. So you could have something at 6.6 and something at 2.6. Was it? I don't know the exact amounts of 4.6, but you get my point.
We get the idea.
Right, you get my point. Yeah.
Our Board of Governors has a fiduciary responsibility to ensure that the Postal Service is fiscally sound.
Yes.
And pricing is tough. And I know our board wrote a letter when we had to do the exigency that it's not what they wanted to do. But without alternatives, that was one of the levers that they are empowered to use. And we do want to keep a strong, vibrant Postal Service for the entire mailing community. And we thought it was in our best interest to have a modest, what we perceive as a modest increase in prices, and that we do want to have that flexibility to make the business decisions that would best serve the mailing industry. And I think that we have a lot of smart people in pricing in the past and currently still, that we do have to do a lot of trade-offs to make reasonable business decisions, and sometimes the current law has a lot of constraints in how you can exercise your pricing discretion.
The Postal Service in the broader sense has a lot of constraints, and what's been happening, of course, is in their efforts to reduce costs, They've looked for a lot of things to do so. And every time they go in a certain direction, reduce costs, there's an objection, oftentimes from Congress, who says, you can't close plants because my constituents are upset. You can't close post offices because my constituents are upset. You can't reduce delivery days because, and it goes on and on and on and on and on. And without making excuses for the Postal Service, at some point you have to say to yourself, okay, if you're going to put them in charge of running this operation, you can't tell them they can't do anything.